Russia has reportedly detained an executive at Aeroflot on suspicion of passing state secrets to Britain. That is according to Russian news agencies. The detained man is named as Dmitry Fedotkin, who is said to deny all charges. Fedotkin's profile on the LinkedIn website says he was Aeroflot's station manager in the UK for the past 5 years, and the airline's country manager there for 3 years before that. A Russian source is quoted as saying Fedotkin passed secrets to Britain's MI6 Foreign Intelligence Service. Aeroflot said it had no information about the case, and the British Embassy in Russia referred all queries to local authorities. Records from a district court in Moscow show that a state treason case was opened Wednesday against an individual named as D.A. Fedotkin. If convicted of high treason, he could face 20 years in jail.
Thousands of people carrying candles and flowers gathered in Belarus's capital Minsk to mourn the death of a 31-year-old anti-government protester who they allege was badly beaten by security forces. According to witnesses, Roman Bondarenko was detained after a physical altercation with people in plain clothes who were trying to remove red and white ribbons that represent the protest movement against President Alexander Lukashenko. Bondarenko later died in hospital. The Interior Ministry denied any responsibility for his death, saying he was killed after a scuffle with civilians. The death is the latest flashpoint in months of mass protests against Lukashenko after a disputed presidential election in August.
Typhoon Vamco has caused extensive damage in the Philippines, flooding many parts of Luzon, the largest and most populated island. The storm, known locally as Ulysses, made landfall in the Bicol region. The same area was battered by the super typhoon Goni just a week ago. Howard Johnson reports from Manila.
Typhoon Vamco is the 21st cyclone to hit the Philippines this year and the most deadly. It made landfall on Wednesday, but we're only beginning to see the full extent of its devastation. It comes 2 weeks after Typhoon Goni hit the Philippines, hitting the Bicol region. But what we're seeing at the moment is the province of Cagayan being hit particularly badly. The Magat Dam there has been opened up to simply let out all of the water that's been collected in the water basin there.
At least 7 people died in North Carolina on Thursday as flash floods swept through parts of the state, authorities said. As of Friday, at least 2 people were missing. Floodwaters left cars submerged and breached at least 4 bridges and 50 roadways in Alexander County. 5 counties declared a state of emergency Thursday, according to the state's Deputy Director of Emergency Management. Electric utility Duke Energy said about 3,100 customers were without electricity across North Carolina as of Thursday afternoon. North Carolina has been hit by the same weather system as Tropical Storm Eta, with some areas receiving about 10 inches of rain. Eta, the 28th named storm of the busiest Atlantic hurricane season on record, according to the National Hurricane Center, made its 4th landfall around 4 a.m. on Thursday near Cedar Key, Florida.
The Prime Minister's most senior and influential advisor, Dominic Cummings, has left Downing Street for good. He walked out of number 10 very publicly this afternoon after clearing his desk. Infighting at the heart of government spilled out into the public eye this week as Downing Street's Director of Communications, Lee Kane, resigned. Dominic Cummings, a close ally, was expected to stay on until the end of the year. But after a conversation with Boris Johnson today, it was decided he should go immediately.
Leaving for the final time. One of the most influential figures in Westminster propelled out of the door after a power struggle that erupted publicly and left Downing Street in turmoil. Dominic Cummings has been at Boris Johnson's side for years and made plenty of enemies. The Prime Minister's been persuaded he needs a different style of government, which means no place for some of his most loyal advisers.
Իմ արած դրածը ես թողնեմ գնամ այսինքն։ Ինչ արել դրել եմ, որոշ շապով ինչ կարծել եմ, հանել եմ մնաց։ Ասել թողել եմ, վառում եմ էթամ։ Եթե ես չեմ իմ երեխեն չի վայել այդ
Если будет продолжать, мы будем до сих пор.
Delhi's seasonal pollution has again blanketed the city, with tiny toxic particles reaching levels 14 times higher than what's regarded as safe. But amid the pandemic, the fumes are posing a far greater threat than usual.
Our ICUs are almost full.
Delhi is in the midst of a third wave, and doctors say the pollution is exacerbating the surge. That's because the virus piggybacks on pollution particles, and the toxic air aggravates lung tissue.
And it is known that an inflamed layer is a susceptible layer to all kinds of infections, and coronavirus would be no exception.
But despite the pandemic, the city is a hive of activity. After all, it is festival season, and the biggest on the Hindu calendar, Diwali, is already underway.
Mid-afternoon and something wasn't right in the skies above Cromer.
Yep, that thing shut down quickly.
This light plane, about 50 metres above homes, making noises.
That plane just cut out. Did you hear it?
Is it falling yet?
Yeah, look at it coming down.
It's coming slow though. It's coming down.
Its sudden and terrifying descent filmed from the street.
Quick, ring that triple-O.
This was the final moment the plane was seen in the air. Within seconds, the plane, understood to be owned by a flying school, smashed into the ground. As a Saturday in summer, there was both cricket and soccer being played at this field at the time. There was a dozen people in this shed that was skimmed by the plane, eventually coming to rest on the far side of the field. Players scattered, the crumpled fuselage sparking fears the aircraft was about to explode. 2 men were hurt in the crash, a 24-year-old believed to have broken bones and a compound fracture, and another man in his 30s.
Now, federal authorities, both aviation and transportation, are investigating just what caused the deadly single-engine plane crash landing down the street in this residential neighborhood just behind me. Take a look at the footage. A single-engine Cessna 172 crashing into the residential neighborhood on approach to Whiteman Airport. It crashed on Sutter Avenue near Pierce Street, igniting in flames along with 2 parked cars. It was right near homes. Fire officials say it killed the pilot, the single occupant of that plane. The pilot has not yet been identified. Sky 5 was overhead after the plane crashed short of the runway about 11:45 this morning. A fiery scene. No one was in the vehicles that went up in flames. A front yard was singed, but authorities say no homes were damaged. In air traffic control audio obtained by KTLA, the pilot of the plane is heard saying he had a loss of engine power, saying we're going to try to stretch it to the runway.
Downtown Lima erupted in violence as thousands took to the streets to protest. Demonstrators lashed out at police, who responded with force using tear gas and buckshot. Among the injured, several journalists covering the clashes. Elsewhere, citizens banging pots and carrying banners spurned the new hastily assembled government.
This is one of more than a dozen protests taking place in Lima, and people are marching in around 40 towns and cities across the country against what they're calling a congressional coup against the sitting president and the man who's been put in his place.
The little-known Speaker of Congress, Manuel Merino, was sworn in on Tuesday, just hours after Martín Vizcarra was removed from office.
Prometo.
But shortly before the march on Thursday, the interim president, Merino, swore in a new cabinet amid scant international recognition.